Made in Japan.
Hey, YouTubies! We're back again another week, the third week in a row of working on little Wanda here. Little complication. So my buddy Brandon, that you've seen done most of the work, he's unavailable this weekend. But I need my car, so we're gonna keep going. So I'm gonna attempt to put the oil pan back on this car with a new gasket. So I gotta figure out where the bolts go, because there's like 4 nuts and like 12 bolts, and like maybe there's a couple short ones that go in specific spots. I don't know. So I gotta find the bolts, and I gotta clean the stuff out, and then do my best at installing it. So then we've got other stuff planned too, so let's find out how far we get through this. Here is said oil pan, which, you know, it's pretty gunky on the outside and on the inside. And we gotta flake this whole gasket off of here. And it's pretty crispy, so that's gonna be a little bit of fun. Then we'll send some brake clean, put a new gasket on her, and then stick her to the motor somehow. So a little bit of heat here, a whole lot of dad words, and some patience. We got all the old gasket off, we got the old oil cleaned out on the inside, and we got the outside cleaned. So let's put some goop here, in here, and then we'll get under the car and we'll clean that surface off and put the goop in the places it needs and keep moving forward. Alright, so here we are under the car, and that's toward the back, because you could see the exhaust stuff we did last week that's still hanging there, which is good. Here's the motor. Okay, so the video I watched said to put some goop on these little seams where the front touches the block. So that's 1, 2, and then that one, that long one there, 3 and 4. So I'm gonna run some goop on there, and I'm pretty amazed actually. Like, you can tell I haven't cleaned this off, but all the gasket came off and stuck to the oil pan. So that's a little easier cleanup for me. Wipe off all that with a rag and some brake clean, and then goop her up, and we'll be good to put the pan on. Alright, so we got our goop on here. It's all gooped up. We got both sides right here, right here. I got the under pieces that I was showing you there. I got the gasket on. So while we're down here, can you see that little gray thing there? This thing? Okay, that came with the gasket, and there's 4 of them to align the thing to go where you want her. And now I'm a little backwards here to flip her around, because the drainage is here and the deep side's over here. So, and then we can whoop this sucker up in there. Oh, my nugget. That was dumb. Turny. There's the... Oh. What is happening? There's the front. There's the back. Everybody looks to be happy. Look, there's some wiggling and jiggling, and she falls right in her home. Wow. Yeah, smash. bang boom, she sounds like, but she's on there. I can hold her one-handed. And I think these are the oil pan bolts. I'm not sure, but I'm taking a guess. Oh, that sounded a little crunchy, didn't it? Try and get this opposite corner over here. How's my armpit look?
Great.
Ah.
Ow.
Careful, careful, careful. You didn't cut yourself, did you? Cold makes it hurt worse. So here's the oil pan. She's up. Everything looks sealed. I don't know if you can see the little blue line. She looks like she's set properly there. Yep, I could see it now. I don't know if you guys can. Can you see that little blue line in there? Tiny, very thin. She's in there. So now we get our bolts all the way around, and we'll just snug them up. The pan, it's installed, and all 18 bolts and nuts, make sure, are tightened to the 10 foot-pounds that this says. You know, right there. 10 foot-pounds. And then I also use this sequence, which is pretty much like a similar to doing a head. So yep, I don't know if you can read them numbers, but that's how I did it. It seemed to look good to me, so I'm pretty happy with the oil pan. But I did forget to mention when I was doing them in that order on that picture, I did it one time at the 10 foot-pounds. I came back a second time and did 10 foot-pounds again, because in the center ones, they were at like 5, you know. So do it 2 to 3 times to check that you at least got them all at that poundage, you know what I'm saying? But since I'm done laying on the ground today, no more, I'm gonna bend over here and do this fuel filter right here, because I already have a brand new one, and why not? It's easy to get to, because, you know, it's two nuts ish and 2 bolts or something similar. Alright, there it is. A little bit of a hassle, but it's down here. It's full of fluid, good fluid. So it's like, you know, we'll just set that there, grab the new one and put it together. And there it is, brand new fuel filter. I don't know if you can see in there that copper color. The fuel filter did come with 2 brand new crush washers for that, so that was cool. But it's getting to be late, so I'm headed in for the night, and we'll continue on doing the rest of the stuff we need to continue on tomorrow. Woo, doggy guys! It's another day, and I'm still plucking away at the Honda. I haven't really gotten much done, minus take the alternator out. And I'll tell you, that was a fiasco, because I've never taken one of those out before on one of these cars. But I learned real quick on how to do it right. Got it out. Now my main goal here today is to try and get the timing belt done, halfway done, you know, access to it, something. Do I know how far I'm gonna get? Absolutely not, because I've never done one on this car. I've got a general idea of what needs to happen now, but I am a little lost at the same time. So we're just gonna take it piece by piece here, enjoy ourselves, jam some tunes, have some warm snacks and some coffee, and you know. Alright, so now we're getting far enough. I think I'm to the point where I gotta pull this motor mount and the crank balancer thingamajig, you know, that holds the belt on the bottom, so I can pull this plastic cover and investigate what's behind and do the timing belt stuff. So to do that, I had the jack back here from last week when I did the little bit of exhaust work, because remember that hanger that was hanging off? Well, I needed something new to support it. I found a bucket. The bucket is like perfect height. So the bucket's there. Now the jack is under the car. She's got a piece of wood, I don't know if you can see it, on the oil pan, so you know, disperse a little bit of the weight. And now I can take these motor mount bolts off, and then I'm gonna have to figure out the pulley, because I don't have a pulley puller here. Might have to run a grandpa's and do that. On a super good note though, I got my cheerleading team to keep me motivated out here. They came out to join. It's working. Alright, so it's been like a couple hours because, you know, I had to go to the parts store for a special tool. I watched this video on the YouTube about, you know, how to do this, and the guy had used like a strap wrench to hold the pulley straight so it didn't, you know, try and spin while he undid the bolt. But they didn't have one of those when I looked. And I just so happened to come across the special tool that are just for Honda crank pulleys. And it looks a lot like this. Big old hex with a hole in it. Because that's what that looks like. So this would go in here, like so. Then you would get your wrench. And make sure that it don't fall down. Up here, and then you'd put this in there like that. And then you could come back with your socket in the middle and put it, you know, oh man, oh. You know what I'm saying, right? Whoa, look, see? So, like, I'm talking a bunch of dad words later, it'll come out. Maybe that's if you're by yourself. If you gotta help, you know, to be able to hold the other end of the other wrench or something, it might be less dad words involved. Whew, but I used the impact. And I'm still out of breath because of the angles to the dangles I was in. Alright, so now that if I'm correct that we got this bolt off, this little puppy will wiggle back and forth right off in your face. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need two hands. Oh, it feels like it's coming. Oh, it's coming. Look at that. Look, look, look. Oh. Oh, yeah. She's down. Holy cow. That seal looks like booty. I'm gonna have to replace that seal. Maybe it's not even a seal. I don't know. Maybe there's not supposed to be fluid in the hole. Sure looks like there is though. Maybe there's one on the inside behind that cover we need to replace. Cover? She's off. Let's go ahead and look down here. You can see the tensioners in there. And then look how bad this old belt is. Do you see those cracks in it? Man, that's bad. So now the next thing here is to get this arrow pointing up, and then we can take this belt off. And then we can think about our camshaft. We gotta get it put in place and put the rocker assembly on and tighten it down, so then we can then think about installing an actual timing belt. We're getting to it. And what I just forgot about was the water pump, because the water pump runs off of the timing belt. So we need to do that before the timing belt too. But I did start looking in the box here. And I got the Continental brand, because it came with both and everything you need. That's mainly why, is it because it came with the stuff I needed. But it come with this cool fancy dancy little diagram that tells you what the bolts need to be tightened to. And it also gives you a diagram. You know, it says there's that line, you need those lined up, and that needs to be facing up. Then you need that one faced up, and that one needs to be lined up. Oh man. So there's a whole lot of lining up that needs to happen. But we might as well get to that water pump first, right? There's our new one. Look at that shiny thing. Made in Japan. New gasket. Hopefully that's good. I don't know if you can see it in there, but look at that new water pump. You see it? There's a top side angle here. You can kind of see that brand new puppy in there. Here's what the old one looks like here. It is goopy. It has goop everywhere. But it looks like, no, it looks like there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. I don't know why there's so many little extra pieces to make you confused. But I got those on, and I think it's getting pretty late because it's about dinner time, so I might call it a night. I might come back out after, but I think I'll just save putting the timing belt together and the camshaft and all that stuff for tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Technically, it's today for me. So, I did a little more after I said I was going in, but not much. But not much, okay? See, I just mocked in our belt here, so it's not really in there, but it's in there. And that's pretty much where I left it. And then I came out this morning and I was like, man, it's a little chillier than it was yesterday. And I'm getting to work and I'm looking at my parts that are strung out that you can't really see because it looks like camouflage within this TA. And there's this black cover. I'm like, man, where does that puppy go? You know, and I'm starting to think and look around and I'm like, that has to be that cover that goes, you know, on the head and behind the camshaft gear. So that kind of needs to go next. And if you look down in here, you can see that gold bolt right there. That's like right behind the motor mount bracket thing. So I don't know how that plastic cover got taken off. It must have got taken off when my buddy took the head off. You know, that way it was easier accessible. And I didn't know what had happened, you know, so I was putting it back together. This is the mess I created because I didn't know that plastic cover needed to go on before I put the head back down. So that caused me to take 5 more bolts out of that motor mount. And I'm talking 5 bolts out of that motor mount to be able to put 1 bolt back in. What a mistake that was. But I'm just pushing through that mistake pretty good. You know, and I think once I get this plastic cover on, I could then rebolt the motor mount down. And then I can clean up this head and put the camshaft on so we can actually start doing the timing belt stuff and getting it all aligned properly. So it should be going smooth. I don't know though. There is a camshaft. Now I did put some assembly lubricant on there. You can see that green dot right there. That's all that lube. I put it in every valley and then I soaked the whole camshaft. And I also laid her mostly in the position that she needs to be. She just needs to rotate over here a little bit. And that's about where she'll be when we put the timing belt on. And before we could throw the timing belt on, we obviously got to put our rocker arm assembly on real fast. But I got to do some Google searching and figure out what these need to be torque spec'd at before I do that. So just hang in there. Got that rocker arm assembly set down there, and all these bolts are threaded in there, just a couple threads or so to make sure everything's happy. So now that I'm happy with all them bolts, and you can see that all 18 of these are threading in, what I'm gonna do now, since we have all new valves in here, is I'm gonna loosen up all these valve lash bolts, nuts and screws, whatever you want to call them. I don't know the technical name, but I'm backing these off is what I'm saying. Okay, so I haven't done this one, but I did do this one. You see how the nuts there, so it's gonna be close when I set it back down, and then I could get a feeler gauge in there and do everything right. But it also helped me, backing these off will also help me make sure that these whole assembly here sits flat and does its job properly without any extra pressure from valves. I'm just doing that mostly because the new valves and to make it easier on myself, you know. And once I loosen all those, then I'll use this little diagram here that I got off the old internet, and I'll you know, torque the bolts in this sequence, and then we'll come back and do the we'll start focusing on the timing belt stuff again, because that's the important job today. All right, nicely. All right, you just come up out of the way nicely. All right. Oh yeah, I did that one already. That was off camera. Gentle. Oh, okay. Woo. Man, nerve-wracking. Gentle. All right. Be nice. Okay. Woo.
always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life. I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna sing my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on the shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said. How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel?
Simply done, and we have a lumpy stick. So the camshaft's in with the rocker arms now. You know, these are still got some looses in there. Alright, so it's time to start thinking about this timing belt, which I'm a little ahead now. So first things first we got to take care of is, you see, this is the camshaft circle, which is up here, the top. There's little lines on the side of these gears that line up with this line, the top of the head. Okay? Then there's one that says up. Make sure that that says up. Can you see it in there? Can you see it in there? So once that, you're happy with that one, come to the bottom now. You got to make sure that the bottom is lined up right. You see this? This right here. Number 10. Let's take this puppy off. You see the arrow up there facing up? Yep. That should be lined up with that mark up there. Can you see it? Can you see it? Well, we're off. So I'm gonna have to hop this back one tooth. And then I'll be happy. See that? Now that's what you're looking for. See how that's pretty straight with each other? And now once I get that tensioner in there, she'll pull the other side. Just, you know, put the tension in there and line her right back where we need. Now I did put a set of ice grips up top here to lock her down, because that's where I want it. But I did cover her with a rag so it wasn't ruining my brand new belt. So now my next goal is to try and get this tensioner in here. Alright, so when you feel comfortable with where you got your alignment marks, kind of roughly get her, you know, in there. And then I wrapped her around the water pump, and then I snuck the idler pulley in there, and it was real sloppy like. And then I put the other one on there, the other idler pulley for the balancer shaft's timing belt. And I went and put the nut on the front of it from the cover, the whole timing belt cover, to hold those on there. And then it gave me enough room to be able to hold the dang timing belt and use these extender reach with the angle needle nose in this little gap here. This little gap. And I grabbed the spring down there and I just hooked her right onto that little stub there. It was pretty easy with these needle nose. And then I double confirmed all my marks were lined up where I wanted them to be. And thank goodness they are. So that's a step ahead. Finally, I'm one step closer to hearing this 4-cylinder make a couple pops again. Now I can focus on the balancer shaft portion. The other timing belt, the littler guy. So this guy, I've already got my bolt in there, so she doesn't move. This guy, it's already locked in from this one, so it shouldn't move. This guy, that's the weebly wobbly one. That's the one that concerns me a little bit. But that's the one I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna put the belt on this way, wrap around this one, sneak her under the idler pulley, and then try and slip her over the balance shaft pulley, because that one's locked down. Now that's a plan. Plans don't always happen accordingly. So I'm gonna wing it and hopefully it comes together. It's simply done. Man, that slipped on real easy. Just like I said, I started on this one, tried to keep this bottom side here pretty straight and wrapped around, you know, and then I slipped her around that idler pulley, all the way loosened, obviously. I don't have the spring on it. And then we slipped her over. And this mark stayed, and that mark stayed, and this one didn't move. So now that gives me the confidence of putting the spring on that one to tension it all up, and we're good to go. We're putting this puppy back together. And then my mistake of breaking the timing belt, that could be in the past. I don't know if you can see down there, the crank pulley we put back on, and I gave her a test crank, 1-2 rotations, so now it's at like top dead center, a 2 or 3 or something. But we're about to take that puppy back off and clean up this cover and start putting stuff back together. Finally. Okay, we got some changes. The alternator's hanging in there, brand new one. We did get the cover on. You can't really see it in this darkness, and the crank pulley. Now this is a water pipe that goes in the back of the water pump. So I took this pipe out just to put this new O-ring in. Super easy, it's like 1 bolt right there. Now we're gonna shove her back in there because the new O-ring is on there. See, the old one was black, and you know, it's pretty flat on the one side. It's less round than it used to be. So we'll stick that back in, and then I think the intake will be ready to slap back on top. And then we can start thinking about valve lashes and exhaust and all the other goodies. Power steering. an intake, this motor starts to look like a motor again because there's not so much space missing. Brandon did make it this week. He's losing his day off because of me again. But I'm thankful he's here because, man, we have like doubled, or if not tripled, the amount of stuff that's been done. So that's good. Soon enough, we'll be hearing this puppy fire up again. And I'm getting pretty excited, but nervous at the same time because I still haven't figured out my exhaust issue. Keep moving forward here, and it's a bunch different. Power steering pump. I got the intake bolted down, some stuff and some vacuum and some electrical stuff, and a motor mount back on. But right now I'm working on this. This bracket is for the power steering pump, but I can't get this bolt in because it's hitting the alternator bracket. So this is another one of them pieces that must have got taken off after the head was taken off the engine. So now I'm taking more bolts off, taking the car apart more, just to be able to get another part on. I'm almost there though. I'm down to the last bolt on that one alternator bracket, so once I get that bolt out, then maybe I can get the rest of this put together and we'll be back in the right spot. Here's where we are. The brackets, both brackets are back on. The alternator is back on. I also did get the belt on. You can't really see it right now. She's in there. But it's getting late. I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna call it a night. And I'll be back at it later. But for you guys, this is gonna be the end of the episode. So you guys need to subscribe so you can actually see this thing fire back up, and make sure I did the timing belt correctly next episode. Yep. If you liked me goofing off and actually just plucking away at this as I could, give me a big thumbs up. Comment what you think about what I did. And I appreciate you guys for watching like a bunch. Thank you. So, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Stay motivated.